Well, thank you, listeners and friends, for joining me, Santos Bonacci, on People for People Radio. And it's my pleasure. This is the third episode to have a new guest, hopefully every week, and to be able to keep the truth frequency alive, and to be able to share with you the great truths that are now becoming available as time plots along in this, what people would call eschatological time that we're living in, the time of the end of time. So when scriptures say that all will be awakened, all will awaken to their true identity, their true self, their true being, etc. So it's my pleasure to announce a good friend of mine whom I would like to share with you, Karl Kaliebe from Melbourne, Florida, USA. Thanks for joining me, Karl.
Hi, Santos. Do you hear me?
Loud and clear, brother.
Okay, good. Well, I just got a message from Daz that I was getting reverberation or something because my mic was on while you were talking. So
Yeah. Well, you can mute your mic. I heard it before, but now it's a lot better. So
okay, yeah, good.
Might be me actually. I'll do something on my end to see if it helps. But
well, this is my first go at it. I'm honored to follow Carlene, I guess, because she's with a K as well. That's awesome. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, Carlene was on last week for the listeners.
Yeah. But it's with a K, and see, my name's with a K as well, so that's, I don't know, that's unique. Maybe not so in Europe much, but here in America it is. In fact, I always introduce myself, Karl with a K. That makes it stand out a little bit.
Yeah, well, she has a K as well, so Carlene.
Yeah, I love it. And she's got the ancestry thing going on. I love it. Me too. If you don't collect all your ancestors and get holy, all this other stuff is an effort, right? It's something you're trying to do rather than something that's happening through you.
Exactly, and it's interesting that we got 2 Ks in a row on this very new radio show that I'm doing, because we were supposed to have Steve Y. Borrower on today's show. So for all the listeners that were disappointed, he contacted me earlier on today saying he couldn't help join us. So Karl just stepped in, and so I hope I appreciate that. Everyone
well, the Ks are 11s. That's the master number. That's my life path as well. So it's like that it does stand out, and it's the male masculine or the male master, right? I mean, the 22s go to the girls or the female genders of this word.
Okay, why is that?
Well, it's the curve and the straight line, right? I mean, doesn't that it totally makes sense? And the 3s come together. The 33s put us both together in the androgynous zone.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah, well, you can see the transmitter portion of that 33. It's putting out all 3 signals, right? That's that. There's no gender in it because it's all, that's what's being radiated out of those master numbers. And obviously the verticals talk for themselves. So.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
And ironically, both my first 2 daughters born are 22s. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I'm born at 8/18, so my other favorite number is the 8, because that's of course an 8. But 8/18, that's and then my son's birthday, ironically, is 8/18/1981.
So that's the 18th of August, yeah?
Yeah, he's a Leo.
Okay, so you're a Leo?
No, I'm the Taurus. I got six planets in Taurus. I'm also born on a solar eclipse. In fact, the 57th eclipse since the solar. What is it? The solar 118. In 1957. It was the last of 57 solar eclipses since the year 300 AD, and it covered the complete country of Russia. So I came in right over Russia with the moon and the sun, and Mercury and Venus, the South Node.
Wow! So you
here, yeah.
So
right there, I came in 4 hours right after the eclipse, where it eclipsed Russia. So I was riding it.
Wow. Your soul flew over Russia and you landed in the US of A.
Right there in the Great Lakes. That's where my 12D city starts, and then the rest of the grid goes from there, and it kind of goes downhill all the way to picking up everyone's 5D, because I know everybody else has been laying the 5D out there, or 6 or whatever they're laying, but mine starts over the Great Lakes with a 12D city and comes down from there. And it's not mine. It's just the one I actually have some kind of autograph on.
Yeah. Wow. And what's 12D city?
Just the 12th dimension.
Yep.
That's the light city. The light city. So, and then from there, I've got a major component right there in Denver, that Denver area at the divide, because that's the big component of 8D. But I only have, and there's other people. There's like whatever. If it's 144,000, 144 million, I don't know what it is. We're all been laying this out here, and we're coming out. We're coming out. We're coming out, and that's what it is, And something's happened here with this Pluto-Saturn cross that's just gave us some kind of, okay, you can start talking a little. But this has been going on since the 2012. Everyone out there making money is making money, right? That's been their job, and they've helped us all.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Karl and I, this is for the listeners' benefit, we met in Miami last month. Karl came down from Melbourne to see me while I was staying in Hialeah in Miami for a month there, Hollywood, around that area. And we hung out and we spoke on a lot of the subjects that I deal with, and also Karleen last week, one being sovereignty, of course, and of course other things like diet, raising the chrism, and many more subjects, astrology, as we've already touched on. So we're going to be touching on those precious treasures of subjects today and share what we can, I guess.
Yeah.
So why don't we begin with the astrology?
What do you like? Astrology?
Yep, and then talk about the sovereignty like we did last week, because that's the key, isn't it? If we can free ourselves and our ancestors from the slavery mess that we got ourselves into, well, we're doing well.
Nice. That's a great segue, because let me do it in reverse order, though, because on that ancestry note, I like to first approach that whole ancestry cleanup, which is a cleanup basically, and we've all, whoever you are that has been given that this responsibility, or you chose, you volunteered, hey, I'm ready to go. How many, 27 months or so before you even jumped in the body, you're going, hey, I volunteer, I'll come. Now, you forget that, of course, and we know all that story, but what you got to remember when you connect back to all the partners you made contracts with before you came in, and those, you start remembering them, but it's, what I mean is you start putting the members back on the pieces, the member pieces back together. That's remembering, right? Because you've done this a lot of times, but these last times we left, we were able to put set points markers. I call them flashpoints or imprints for us to hit. Now, there's a lot of stuff that happens in between, good, acceptable, perfect will of God, so to speak, that happens in between these mile markers or milestones. But we hit them, you know, and when we hit them, they anchor they anchor that memory, and everything that comes with that memory comes back alive, right? But what it starts happening once you realize no one ever made a mistake, because it didn't start changing. I was always going around cleaning up and fixing something. I mean, I fixed everything I could possibly think of since I was 20 years old. Well, spiritually now, preaching. I played so many characters, seeking myself, that it is crazy. But anyway, it was always from the position that something was wrong. It wasn't until I understood that everything's right. It all starts in that. It's all been contracted, and I accepted every bit of this in order to get through this. I've accepted the chemtrails. I've accepted all the shit that's been put on this unit or this avatar. Well, I collected all those contracts before I even came here, and to even think something's wrong is never going to fix anything. It's just going to continue the same mess inside the box. It'll point out something else wrong. You might fix something wrong in the box, but you came from outside the box, and you're still outside the box if you're running the show as as a master. Now, if you're playing the smaller game, it's different, and that's okay too, because those are all good choices too. So, I want it to be. It always has to be understood. Nothing's wrong. Because from there, you realize it had to evolve through that. That was so beneficial. All that shit they went through, my dad in the war, prisoner of war, World War II, getting beat down, lived the rest of his life as a man subordinate to his own self. And it was, but he came through life as a victor for what he was capable of victoring in. And since then, now he's in higher states of consciousness, and our communication is perfect again. So from that perfect, we realize that necessary little hiccup just happened in his life 86 years or 83 or whatever. So it's, so anyway, if I can just clear that up, it's very important to understand nothing's ever been wrong. And that puts God in inferior position if there is such an outside component.
Yep, gotcha. It is. It's all right. It's it's what we make of. It's how we also look at problems. Are they challenges or are they problems? Most people who see things as wrong can then be self-defeatist. So, when you look up always and see the hope and stay with the hope that everything is good, and as it is, good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then things seem to change and work out for the better, don't they?
Well, because you are creating that. But I mean, that's now you're getting. I don't want to go into all that science stuff of that law of attraction, which works for anyone that wants to work that stuff as a mechanical system. I'm talking about the intimacy you have with yourself, with your highest intention. That sacred secret realm is always creating good, and to see it, you can't even pick. Your filters shouldn't even be collecting the other data. But it does, because it's been programmed to. So that when the programs are disconnected, so to speak, unplugged, you're not even filtering out. You're not trying to define everything you do or something. I don't know how to even say that. I get to ask in a store, like, how are you doing? Well, I haven't stopped to think about it, because that's really, I don't go through life that way, measuring every action and that kind of thing. I don't know. I think I missed the point.
No, I get it. You're operating from a higher point than what your body is trying to limit you to. So this is, so when you do that, then you're focusing on all the good that is around you, and then your focus is much stronger and clearer, and you're not receiving all of that what's bad information and letting it affect you as much. So a higher point that you're operating on.
Yeah, and it is a frequency, but it's not it's not premeditated, that's for sure. It's something it's just an attention, basically. You only, basically that's the way I see it. I'm walking through life as a free will. I'm just the will making a choice. And in that choice, I'm in a high state of excitement always, because everything's a surprise, basically, that I'm encountering. It's always surprising me. But it's in a good, I don't even want to say in a good way, because I'm not looking for it to be good, and I'm not looking for it to be bad. Right? I don't have a definition of my activities. So, like, I don't come away from a store and say that was fun, because that was over. I don't even think about it, because I'm already doing something different. And when I get home, someone might say, how was, and I don't know. I have to disengage the present moment to tell a story about the past moment to someone who doesn't really care that much anyway. So, we've disconnected the whole, in fact, I just got tired telling you that story.
Yep, gotcha. So in other words, you're becoming the witnesser of the experience rather than the active participant.
Yeah, actually the witnesser of the witnesser, of the action, so to speak. And it's like, because I'm really, there's a spot, I'm a spot behind that, because I know I'm not any of the other things in front of me. Anything I can see, I'm not. So I'm really just the attention, the pure awareness of that. And from that awareness, I'm the awareness in the will, because the awareness, then I'm the surface component. I have a surface component, or that's how I always think of. I have a surface component, but I'm watching from outside the body part, because the body is definitely, you're outside your body. You've got to be able to see yourself, that third party, that's a Vernon Howard thing from way back in whenever, you have to be able to see yourself on TV at all times, or else the avatar situation doesn't even connect, right? So, your gurus always say, when they want to get you back out of yourself, you go, like Mooji or Papa G or somebody, they're going to back you out to be your true self, and then they'll say, I watched Papa G say, what's the hesitation? And the guy goes, there's doubt. He says, well, where is it? He points to it, and he moves it out, reaches over, moves it out of the way. Now do you? Oh, and the guy just bursts out laughing. I watched a guy laugh one time for like 7 minutes, because he realized it is an illusion. I can make this look any way I want it to look.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. So if there's any gift that I have that is worthy of sharing, that I believe that I have, it is that. Ever since I was little, I've always been able to see myself from outside of myself, and I always worked under that pretense, or under that way of operating, that modus operandi, and yeah, that's helped me in a lot of ways. I guess
that's your neutron. That's your neutral. And if you can always, you just realize it takes a little practice, but all of a sudden, once once you're allowed to just stay there, you're there. It's hard to actually slip back into the roles where you take anything personal, because it isn't, because the person, it really is gone. It's like ayahuasca times 20 when that occur. What I'm talking about occurs, because you really do. It's separate, and I don't even know how. And I agree with you, Santos. I see how you do that. I mean, your imagination is all that stuff that you pieced together the way that's what attracted me to you, was because you put all those little synchronized pieces together, and my imagination picked all of it up and saw all of it, because it had already happened to me. All that stuff with the oil coming through the pituitary and the pineal and through the, all this stuff had already happened. So, and you put it together with all of my church stuff and all the religion. It was great. So, yeah, I know no one gets those epiphanies like that without being able to go third party.
Yeah, look, I believe so. You have to be able to have that ability. Then you can also see where your beauty or your ugliness, or where you are not acting correctly to any situation. You can monitor all that. And so you and I have something very, very in common. We were both ministers. I was an ordained minister with the Jehovah's Witnesses. You were with the Pentecostals, right?
Not Pentecostal, charismatic, but yes, they're very similar to Pentecostal. Yeah, speaking in tongues, the whole, the gifts of the Spirit, all that kind of stuff, right? Yep.
So you've been saved twice. You were saved with them, and now you are saved.
No, I actually wasn't saved with them, Santos. My story goes, I was saved actually in my bed, and filled with the Holy Spirit in my basement, and then met a bunch of church people. So, and then became charismatic. I had my stuff done in a sanctified way, and then met the organized religion. But anyway, go ahead.
Me too. As it does, you get the true Holy Spirit comes to you. Then you think, oh well, I've got to join a church, and that's the
yeah. But I mean, that was a character that I got lost in and had fun with, because I mean, I still look at all the glory that came out of that. Right?
Yeah,
so
me too.
Beautiful. Yeah.
For sure. I always say I have no bitterness or no regrets that I was Jehovah's Witness for decades of my life, because that character that did that, I've learned from that character. I'm glad Santos Bonacci, that dude who was a Jehovah's Witness and very zealous, might I add, trying to save people, learned a lot. So, and I learned about the scriptures, which I love dearly, and we both share that scriptures.
Oh yeah, definitely,
for sure. So, how did raising the chrism and all of that stuff come to you then, from the scriptures and from your experience?
Let's see. There's, I guess the Kundalini awakening, was probably, that initial, that's when I had my Kundalini activation, not awakening, because I mean, I believe that awakening happens at the filling of the Spirit. You're just you may not be, you're not conscious. You're not of how to use it, of what's going on, the vibrations, any of that. But then, in 2013 is when I had that pole shift, which that pole shift being where I realized that I was generating every single thing through my mind and my heart. Everything that was happening, good, bad, ugly, didn't matter what it was, that I was the one creating it. I mean, I knew the concept for much longer than that, but I really stepped into that. They call it responsible, or able to respond. I woke up to that yes, every single thing that had ever happened, I had agreed to and contracted with, either consciously or unconsciously, didn't matter. No one else outside of me, nothing outside of me was responsible other than me. Period. No question, no changing that, no compromising with that, nothing. And I'll tell you that shift caused me to start seeing everything differently in like that area of spirituality. I realized something was carrying me rather than me doing it anymore. And that carrying effect took me into the interest of Kundalini, which I went to, I had help understanding it some and had the activation. Didn't have anything major like it wasn't major like instant, but I knew something did start to relax. You know, those five vertebrae down there, they started, you could feel that relaxation, something relaxed. But how much, I don't know, and I'm really not sure. But but I know today that big time. But because as above, so below, or as below, so above, there's some bones in the top of your head that are going to also, you know, once that happens down below, this will eventually. Now, you know, I say eventually. 7 years later, eventually, there's pathways and stuff that let that chrism to just the Christ to move past that 33rd vertebrae somehow. I don't know, but once it does, it's all magnetism from there on and breath. So, and then it's a constant flow. And once it's flowing through your vessel and in your body, your aging reverses. It's done. I mean, you just wake up younger every day. Everything's healthier. Your bones are popping everywhere. You're just relaxed, and I don't know. I can't. Health. You don't think about health. I mean, you're beyond health. That's something people strive for. You know, you're beyond health. Because something else changes, and you've integrated your it's sort of an etheric body, but it's the Merkaba light body. There's a lot of names they want to put on it, but it is a merging of the physical, and it is through the electrical nervous system tied to the bones somehow, and I can feel it in my little fingers and in my big toes. That I'm connected to something, a fabric of consciousness, to those units, and they are, but that's because of moving it all the way around, and now there's figure eights of it just flow all over my body. That's one of my favorite numbers, 8. But that just happens. I don't know what else to say. And
yeah, so
sacred. I don't even want to. I can't even go past all that. I mean, there's. Yeah.
You would be describing what I would call the field. Would you say that is the field?
Yeah, the field we talked about too, and that segues into your sovereign autonomy, right there. Bam.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
This is how they individuate us, give us a birth certificate, corporate strawman name, and now we are someone totally owned, I guess, or controlled, right? That individual.
Yeah. And the thing about that the light body causes within the soul, it's more than a soul. It's a separation of soul and spirit, if I can get right down to it. It's like the word of God is sharper than a two-edged sword, right? Piercing to the dividing asunder, the soul and the spirit. Piercing to down deep into the bones and the joints and the marrow, it says, right? And that's that sharp two-edged sword. Well, that splitting of the soul and spirit allows you somehow to always know what's spirit and what's your mind. I don't know. It's weird, but that's exactly what it does. And the body tells you, because your body has now become Solomon's temple, and it's sovereign, like we're saying, but you recognize sovereignty everywhere too, right? Like you recognize this. I recognize your sovereignty. And in that recognition, I know I can't come into your ground and put information. I can't put judgments or into your realm, because you're sovereignly autonomous there, and I'm sovereignly autonomous here. And as long as that's a growing respect of sacredness that just starts happening. And everything starts getting super sacred. It's just, I don't know. It's awesome. But it's all something coming from within. It's not coming from a practice you're doing. And although there was lots of practice in the past, and there's still, but now it's not a practice, it's a ritual. It's a right to do and an honor to do. Like all the rituals I do in the morning, all the things I take, all those things aren't to make me feel better. It's to honor Solomon's temple. And that's anyway. So
you're talking things like the supplements you take, or yoga, or
like for instance, psyllium seed husk. Okay, it comes out of India off of psyllium, little tiny tree. Well, and it's in Metamucil, and you can take all the garbage that comes with that too. But psyllium, I learned of it when I was 30 years old on the timeline. So that puts like 33 years I've been doing it. I haven't missed probably 5 days in my life since then, because it changed my life the first day. Now, and I didn't only believe in it, I knew it worked, right? I didn't do it because someone told me to do it, but I did it. And everything that I've added to my morning and my afternoon and my day, everything, it's been a component that I was intuitive from within, right? And then I also knew, my learning experience taught me it works, then I did it. Then I spent a lot of time trying to help other people, telling them it's got to be from within. It's the Christ in us. It's the anointing within. No man teaches any other man. That those days are over, old paradigm. It's got to come from within. And if it's not, you might get a catalyst from another person. It might stimulate something. That's interesting, but it's got to be a collaboration, intimate collaboration with you and your higher self, or it's an effort to do something inside the box, and all the efforts inside the box to get out won't get you out. It takes grace from without to come within. So, I am talking about. I could give anyone advice, but I also know. You're dealing with a lot. You're also. I know when to entangle quantumly and not, and I don't. I prefer not to entangle on any kind of level like that, because then you're going to deal with belief systems and other things like that with other people. And once you get involved, then you've made yourself responsible. So I prefer not to really give a whole lot of stuff. But I can tell you there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done to get the metals out of your body and all that. I believe in everyone that's telling you to take the chlorella and all other different things, and the niacin, that definitely the iodine. That's all those things are good to do. But like I said, until you're taking advice from your body, you're not really getting good advice. And until you realize your body is the most intelligent, the highest level technology that there is on this planet and ever will be. And if you can't trust that But first of all, you got to get all the pharmacy out of your system in order to be able to trust it. But once your body's talking to you correctly, you'll never listen to another person again about how to fix your body, because your body will fix itself.
Yeah. I'm in the process of doing that, Karl, because I've had my itch problem, which you know about, for years, and I've tried this, that, and the other, and some things work and give me relief, etc. But I'm finding that what I'm doing mentally and ritually is just helping me, even though it's still there, it's still lingering.
Yeah.
Just shows that I need to focus more on listening to my body.
Well, if you think about it too, like you brought up with Carlene about, you know, sometimes you deal with your anxieties and fears and stuff like that. Those are going to trickle in some chemicals that are going to cause some reaction. Not necessarily, yours might be itch, someone else might be breakout. This doesn't matter. Just realize every time you have an emotional reaction inside, you're dripping out chemicals until you realize you're not your body. You're going to do that. You're going to drip cortisol when you're anxious. You're going to drip, you know, autoleukins when you're euphoric. So you could drip $10,000 worth of autoleukins in one state of euphoria, right? Or you could also drip $100,000 worth of cortisol that's going to cost you chemotherapy. So, and that's all based on your interpretation of a reaction that's causing an emotional thing that you haven't learned to yet totally override. You haven't totally learned how to override your emotions yet. But I'm not saying that in a negative way. Most people don't even realize they could override their emotions if they wanted to, right? So you're at least there. And you can recognize you're having these emotions. Believe me, they're also putting the chemicals in your body that are, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then that's just the way it is. You know, a person gets on a roller coaster, they're super excited and happy, autoleukins. Person gets on a roller coaster, scared to death, cortisol. Right? So what the hell? It's up to you.
Yeah. I hear you. Very, very true. We can engage our pure magic from the field, and in that way we enable, connect to the field, which is magnetism, really, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We can heal all things as long as we allow it in and know how to, because the body is actually telling us, isn't it? When we feel pain or anxiety or stress, it's actually telling us how we've gone off the field. We're not in it properly. We're not trusting
Every itch, Santos, is telling you something if you pay attention. And like you say about the field, be aware. I'm sorry I got off of that subject from you, but I am aware of my field, and you know that because we've been in contact. We've been in each other's space. I stay in my field. That's part of that sovereign autonomy. You see, is staying in your field. Yeah. Remember, in fact, I think we had a little interaction about the field even. Because like I'm in my field, you're in your field. But if you're shitting in the middle, in the neutral field, I'm going to say something to you. You're going to say something to me if I shit in it, right? That's important. The field is sovereign, and each of us are sovereign in it. So like, there's your electron, proton, neutron all the time. There's always a trinity. Always. You say it in your teachings all the time. There's always that trinity. There's always that caduceus. It's always going on, right? There's always the two snakes wrapped around a pole. In everything we do, everywhere we are, it's always going on. There's three of us.
Yep, we're two or more together in my name, there shall I be with them.
There you go. And that's what I was trying to explain to you about, or not explain, but I mentioned to you about having a partner or not. Because like it says in the scripture, it says, one can put 1,000 demons to flight, but two can put 10,000. So you get tenfold just partnering up. as far as like anchoring intentions and things like that. That's what I'm actually speaking of. Is like, you know, like when I do, if in my grid stuff, I've got a partner or friend down in Tasmania I was mentioning to you, right? And every time I set up a crystal or do some kind of grid, well, I always anchor it back through that conduit down there too, because the latitude where she is at 44 south. The latitude of my city is 44 north, right? So like, those are, you got to see stuff like that, right? You got to be able to pivot the planet. Those are important ideas at times when you consider the field, because those are part of the bigger components of the field. So I'm just backing out, right? And then you back into your 7 planets and, you know, your intimate relationships with your planets too, obviously on your chart. So all of this stuff works down kind of to this one little surface unit that we call ourselves.
Right. Just to pick you up on the 44, is that in Miami or where you were born?
Where I was born.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. 44 and 44. There you go. Well, that's
88.
Yeah, that's
like the keys on the piano.
Yep, the constellations of the heavens. 88.
There you go, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And they all drip down onto the keys of the piano. Mm-hmm. There's a few other 88s too. They're not coming to my mind, but yeah, it's a big number, that one, isn't it? Oh, that's right. 888, the number of Christ, right? And the cube.
Yeah. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know, an interesting thing, if you do with the alphabet, the word computer is 111. 3 penises.
111. The word computer?
Yeah. And guess who else? Another name that doesn't even sound anything like it is the same amount is Kissinger. Henry Kissinger. His last name is 111.
Oh,
and
my.
if you take that times the day man was created, 6, you could put the 666 on both of them. But that's just all games of play. I'm not I'm not saying that's true.
Yeah. Gotcha. So it works with Kissinger because he is kind of
how was Jesus betrayed? With a kiss. By who? The man of sin.
There you go, Kissinger. There you go, brother. When you look at words, you find lots of treasures. Wow. Yeah, that's a biggie, for sure. And certainly people, these guys, they actually make up their names too as well from components to mean something, really, I would say.
For sure. There's no doubt. This stuff, and that's the thing. One thing for sure we've lost is the quantum language, or the quantum behind every. We haven't lost it, but it's not practiced enough, and it's kind of like, because of the layers of how civilization was, or this modern time was rolled out. It was rolled out in such a way that we've lost the inception side of a lot of what's going on. Just like the generations down are losing the World War II background, you know, the things that are lost. I watched some kids on TV or somewhere try to dial a phone and they couldn't figure it out for a minute. You know, the old dial phone, you know, that kind of stuff. So they lose what's behind it all. So they're doing it ignorantly, but yet you got to realize that even though you're doing it ignorantly and you're tricked into doing it ignorantly, you're still giving consent. So that's what makes the science behind, or the inception behind everything, super important. The story, the back of house story of everything is really super important to me, because And look, and I'm just tying this into why you said this about words, because that, yeah, we're still not far enough back. I think going back to Tartaria helps us a lot, but it's not necessarily giving us the whole picture yet of how we got tricked. And then the curse of our fathers has been carried to the third and fourth generation, which we're just now finishing up. In fact, I can show you my lineage, which is interesting. Well, it's interesting to me, is that I'm the last of all these grandkids born. My grandfather had 56 grandkids and great-grandkids, and I'm the last, but there's also a 10-year gap to when I was born. My mom got put on hold for 10 years, so for whatever reason. And so that put me in the next generation, which gave me a chance to save all my ancestors. So I'm like the last of everything to do it. So that really gave me, so everywhere I go, I feel like they're all watching me. I'm their center of attention. Anyway.
Right. And
go ahead.
And that's probably why you said in your chat to me this morning that you were the last, and therefore you've done all that paperwork in the sovereignty field to free your ancestral line or something like that. What was that?
Yeah, that's exactly right, because that's why I did that thing. I sent you that thing on the authentication of the birth certificate as well. And all that does is it doesn't trick them, but they tricked you in your birth certificate thing. So you go back to them and they give you that 1767 paperwork that authenticates you as a living person. So you now carry this paper around that says, hey, this says I'm living now. Right? Anyway, it costs you if you have to, it's just some trickery with the paperwork. But it also then, there's also then the spiritual side of the renunciations of all those curses that are upon them. And then there's countless graveyard stuff and all that where, to disconnect their contracts, their blind contracts. I will share this because I was an only child, or at least I was raised as an only child. And my mom and dad tried for 10 years to have me. But anyway, I want to skip over to the ancestry part. I go through all this clearing of ancestors, grandfathers, Anyway, 2018 in the summer, I get a phone call from a cousin who's in her upper 70s, near 80. And she says, are you sitting down? And I'm like, I haven't even talked to this lady in 30 years. Maybe I haven't, more than that, 50 years. I was a little kid. And it was Sally. Anyway, she says, I have something to tell you. I said, what? And she says, your mother had another child. You have a sister. Now, that's pretty interesting. I'm 61 years old on the timelines, and she says, you have a sister. And so anyway, all the paperwork she showed me, yeah, and then I ended up talking to her. I haven't yet met her face to face, even as of this moment. But I tell you all that because I don't think I would have shook closet clean if I hadn't done all the work before that. And it forced this out. Now, it turns out my mom could never tell my dad because he was a jealous man. He would have never been able to take that. Well, so all that wouldn't have got shook loose. We all would have had to return on this pathway one more time just because my mom died with a secret, you see. But she didn't really because we shook it loose. But I was willing to allow that. I don't know. I'm not. And I don't tell that story for any other reason that other than we have stuff we can fix down here. Yeah. As long as you're breathing, you got something in your contract to fix for everybody. And it's a bigger picture than you.
Yep. Did you hear me talking about Tarpanum last week with Karleen?
I did, a part of it. And
yeah.
I might have skipped part of it through. Tell me.
All right, so it's an offering that you make to your ancestors, a little bit of grain in your right hand with a little bit of rice or black sesame seed and coin, and you say a prayer to release your ancestors and return to the white light, and then to bless your life, etc.
I did hear that.
How do you rate that?
I like that. I really think you can get. I think that would be. It's recognizing something, so it's got to be holy. It's bringing back the part. It's making a conscious connection. But when you're alone, that's a demonstration of your faith. It's an action of faith towards those people because you really know they are listening and they're really here. So yeah, I grant that really well. I do know that you're going to, the further you go with your ancestry thing, you'll get really intimate with these people. They will, you may have never even met them, but you will meet them. The ones that need your help especially. So sending them off generically is nice. But the ones that need intimate support, like my grandfather, I didn't even know. I thought he was on top of the world, and it turns out, when I got to his grave, it was it was an interesting experience where, he had me take him all the way because he was married once before, and his family buried him with his first wife, which I had no idea, and none of my side of the family had gone to see his grave ever. So when I get there, I go, I'm leaving the cemetery, and he's like in the car with me. In fact, he's like on the left side of my body, crying on my left side. Now, the right side of my body is just as clear as the day. The left side of my body is crying. And I'm like, what's up? Do you want me to go back? He goes, no. He says, Pearl. That was my grandma. Well, he had me take him to her because he died before my grandma, and he just really didn't know where she was, somehow. I went back to her cemetery, which I had been to the night before. It was up in northern Wisconsin. And he just had to see her. And it all been well since. So, but I can just remember that was such an intimate thing, and now he's so intimate in my heart. There's hardly a day. There's never a day, but he's there all the time, So, and he's rooting me on. My middle name.
Yes. Yeah, they are. They're rooting us on. They are.
My middle name is Victor. That was his name. I was named after him. And he wrote me a letter when I was born, that said, I'll always be the Victor. So, yeah. That's real. No kidding. Huh?
Yeah, Victor. Yeah. So, what do you think of this then, Karl? Would this be the reason? I think it is anyway, but it's my opinion, and I think it's I think it's not my opinion either. It's the truth. The religions, so-called Christian religions that came to all these indigenous lands in Africa as well, these missionaries, etc., trying to stop ancestral worship, as they call it, because it's demonized and it's evil and it's not Christian.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that? That's obvious what's going on there, right?
Well, no, it's from the book of Acts. I think they really were zealous. These missionaries were zealous about the fact that get all your occult stuff out, get all your astrology. Remember that town in the book of Acts. You got to read in the first churches being developed, and they went in this one town and everybody brought their shit, the pagan shit, into the town and they burnt it. Well, from that, they turned, church governments turned it all into. No one knows the heart of a person that's speaking with those on the other side of the veil. No one's saying anything. Nowhere in the Bible does it say anything about that. There's words about necromancy, which is, romancing the dead and things like that. That's totally bullshit. I mean, to realize that, to take your ancestor, that heritage away. And I see where you were going, Santos. I just heard you again. Yeah, that's why that was a plot. That's a plot, though, from the church, not those missionaries. That's what I think. From Rome itself and everything. And then, of course, Martin Luther in 1518, which we're experiencing that right now, by the way, which is kind of cool, is the fact that the last time Pluto and Saturn were in Capricorn conjunct was 1518 when Martin Luther tacked the shit on the church wall, or on the Catholic Church. So, yeah, I think there's always been a plot to disconnect the indigenous from the spirits.
Yeah, I see it. I saw it with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I see it with YouTube videos now. When you look at what churches are doing in Africa, they are labeling little children demonic and therefore worthy of death, and the parents go ahead and kill them according to the church. And I think it is from Rome. It's clearly from Rome, and disconnect us from the spirit of our ancestry, which is really the gods that gave us our DNA, the gods that gave us our soul. They are virtually, you could call them our gods. And respect them.
And those, the indigenous were the conduits to the earth. It was fun. I did like 6 months of grid up there in a place that I ended up being Manteo, North Carolina. Interesting story. And anyway, that's where the first British child in America was born. Her name was Virginia Dare. And she was born in 1587. And the part why I said interesting is because she was born on August 18th, which I told you earlier is my son's birthday, which happened to be the way I got into the contract to undo the very first birth in America by a British child. So it kind of unlocked something right there. And you realize that her dad was Ananias Dare, who was one of the head masons. You see, so anyway.
Yeah. Well, all of this is connected. That's why you're relating it, brother. It's all interconnected. So, well, look, we're at the top of the hour. Let's have a break, and I'm going to get a cup of tea and join you back after the break and continue this interconnected syncretism chat with Karl. Friends, it's my pleasure to introduce Karl through my work to everyone that I know, and because I was astounded by his wisdom when I met him. So what a great...
Hello folks, this is Jordan Maxwell. It's a pleasure again to be able to talk with you, and I've been trying to wake people up to the facts of life that's going on the earth today. And this is what I'm known for. This is what I love doing, is trying to teach people and educate them. I have a piece of knowledge that you need to know about. There is a radio operation going on called People for People Radio. And I am delighted that I have been able to be on the People for People Radio, and I want to invite all of you to go to People for People Radio. Go on fascinating stuff, I tell you. Thank you for hearing me. Bye-bye.
It's Ouija here. Tune into my show on Fridays, 9 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Central time, and 4 p.m. Eastern time on People for People Radio. See you there, folks.
Hey, and I'm Patty. Tune in Monday, 9 p.m. UK and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to People for People Radio, to the Turtle and Crow Show.
For an exciting, unique perspective on social and world events.
See you there.
This is Yolene Sleeve from Nourishing Peace Show on People for People Radio. I've been out on winter break, and I'm really excited to announce that I'll be back for my show on Sunday, January 26th. That's at noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and 8 p.m. UK time. My passion in this show is traditional foods, Chinese medicine, and simple, healthy living skills. Food is how we physically and spiritually nourish ourselves. And so we're going to be back just in time for the Chinese New Year's, and we're going to be talking about the Year of the Rat and some really interesting things about becoming healthy and whole in this upcoming new year.
Hi, this is Lizzie with Love Bubble, sharing my journey and speaking of healing energies, spirituality and awareness, bringing to the table insights of whom we truly are. Lizzie Love Bubble, 11 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, every Monday on peopleforpeople.ning.com. Be with us every Monday. See you there.
And we're back for the second hour with Karl Kaliebe from Miami, USA. Is that the correct way to spell your
yeah. Kaliebe, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the German word love. Lieb.
Ah, like ich liebe dich.
Yeah. Lieb, or like, yeah, like Liebfraumilch, like loving mother's milk.
Oh, right. So, and Karl is
in Merkaba.
That's right.
It's the spirit.
Yes, spirit of love.
There you go.
Bonacci would mean chi is the same as ka, or chi energy, right? Bon,
yeah,
again, is the Latin universal word for good. Bona fide, bonus.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, so there you go. I always try and get out one of my maxims, that all words, they all go back to the holy science of the proton, the neutron, and the electron, the torus field, and that is practically all words. That's what I call the sun, because that's what the sun is, So when you hear the names like Karl and Santos and Bruce and John, all of these names, I've always said, since I discovered what syncretism really is, they all go back to the sun. And the atom, which is a trinity, like you said, everything's a trinity, the proton, the neutron, and the electron, that would be the same as a torus field. And the ancients knew this. That's why they always spoke. Their books were always based around this word Taurus. In other words, the Torah. and the other word that's always the sister of the Taurus is the hyperbola, which is the hourglass in the middle of the donut-shaped torus field. And as Ken Wheeler would say, you cannot speak of toruses without speaking of hyperbolas, which are the inverse of the torus or the sphere, and the torus is the inverse of the hyperbola. And so from hyperbola, you can extract the word bowl. Remove the hyper, we know what that means. Bowler, what's bowl? Well, bowl is the bull. So it's actually the word for bull or the god Baal, Bel, the god Bel. All of those vowels are interchangeable. So bull, Bel, bowl, Baal. Bull is the Bible. So you got the Bible and the Torah.
Because bullshit.
Yes, the two papal bulls. That's why they call it the Bible. And so all words come from these two words, the hyperbola and the Taurus and the bull. I always say the Taurus and the bull. Taurus is red shift, bull is blue shift. So as you were explaining words in the first hour, Kissinger, and how you masterfully explained that, and then Kaliebe, I asked you, is that the correct pronunciation of your name? Knowing a little bit of German myself, and the expression "Ich liebe dich," I love you. Well, that's right there in your name. So I urge every listener to look at your name, and you'll find that your name, whether it's Tom, Dick, or Harry, Harry's a good example. Horus, hurrah, hooray, Ray, the sun god, Ra, hurrah, Horus, Harry. So look at your name, because you'll find they all go back to the sun, and the sun is a torus field, and it is a hyperbola, thrusting out hyperbolic energy. That's what it means, to thrust outward, and the Torah means to rotate backwards. So what you have is motion here in the Taurus and the bulls, the tornado or the turning field that is the Taurus, which gives you your torso. Well, that's what they are, and this is why I'm because we're both like this syncretists who like to find the true etymology of a word. I'm just trying to highlight right now that everything is of this nature, as above, so below. All is atom. Everything is atomic, and when you understand what an atom is correctly, the torus field, then you'll open your eyes as to all things. Even when you read the Torah and the Bible, they are all these two words. All words, the Word of God, comes from these two components of the atom, which make the three words the most holiest of words: the atom, the torus, and the bull, the hyperbola, as the trinity of the origin of all words. And I proved this exhaustively in a 5-hour presentation in Miami last month, and I would recommend the listeners to check it out on my YouTube channel, Mr. Astrotheology, because there are only 3 words. It's a trinity, and they are atom, tor, and bull, and that's it. So what would you like to add to that? What do you make of that?
You're the man. That's what I make of that. Every time I see you explain like some of the stuff, it's great, because you put all the like the detail to it. And because you don't mind getting down and talk. You've done all that research down there. And I don't take credit for that kind of stuff because that's hard. That you've done all that hard work to gather all that information, which is really good. I just kind of feel the stuff that you know about. I find our dynamic interesting though, because you doing the Aries and then me being Taurus, and you rolling it out. You're kind of you rolled this whole syncretism back out, kind of, right? And
yep.
It's the first word I know too for this, because I always, people say, "Oh, you're into numerology." No, I'm not. I'm not into any particular. I never have been into one type of thing, and then you put a word to it,
Yeah,
and that's awesome. And synchronicities, they're more than normal. They're required. They start off as, oh boy, I had a synchronicity, and then it's like this. And then it slows down to you start to expect them. If you don't have one, like if the numbers aren't lined up, or if you look at a clock and it doesn't change, what? You know what I mean? It's like these things they happen, but they're more than expected. They're always there. You're always synchronized. Always, when you know that when you relax about all the pieces being there, because they are, just do it. Just relax about it.
Hey, I like that because synchronize and syncretize, they are brother and sister. So when you synchronize and you are in the now, you have the field. And you have the knowledge, therefore you can syncretize. So you can put things, syncretize, sync them up in your head, which is what syncretism means, and you can synchronize in time and being an integrated soul by being in the now. So to syncretize, you need to synchronize.
Yeah, I agree. And then, but the component that comes in is Chronos on that, because I see Saturn coming in saying, wait a minute, have you resolved your issue with me? Because that's where the anxiety slips in. I just saw it, Santos. I mean, it's because I know I've resolved my second return with him. But before that, I saw me as you. The anxiety. I saw it. And somehow during my return, the second return, consciously I was able to I can explain this because it's coming to me. I couldn't until I was talking to you. This just happened too, by the way. I was able to receive eternal life, and I knew. And that sounds so churchy, but this eternal life became more than a concept. I realized, I'm relaxed about coming back tomorrow. Coming back 100 years from now, I'm relaxed about going tomorrow, staying longer. I know that I have some contracts through 128 years on this timeline, but I don't count on them. I'm okay if I go the next second because I'm relaxed about coming back. That whole time running out thing went away after this return. And it's like I've received unlimited time. So that component into the synchronized and syncretized.
Gotcha. And
puts the relaxed in it. Because what you learn about in the spirals and your Taurus fields and this is just when I say what you learn about, like I studied something. No, I just see these things. So what you begin to see, like if you can picture a caduceus with the two snakes going up, the pole, and the pole being that center of calmness or no time. There you go. And the other two being the proton neutron. If you see that spin, now watch the coil get tighter and then watch the coil get longer to where the snake's almost as long as the rods or longer, and then up and down. See what I mean? There's a relaxed state that your DNA gets in to where it's you're barely even aware that there's a electron or a proton going around. You're barely aware of it. You're not because your filters aren't picking up the negativity that's going on around you, and it's really not looking for any excitement going around either, because it's within itself relaxed. And the spin of those two snakes is slower. Because you see, hopefully you saw that vision, because I did.
Yeah. I see the way to center your field is to just throw yourself in the field, which is a radiation field. That's how I see it. Okay. It's not a vibration field. See, people the mundane types, the materialists, they see, understand, or try to understand, live in, and are absorbed in the vibratory wave world. The material vibration, electricity, redshift, blue shift, and again, that's Taurus ball. So, the real wave, the centered one, that's radiation. And radiation is magnetism. Magnetism, in its truest form, does not vibrate. Only when it's electromagnetism, which I call just electricity, does it vibrate. Does it have a transverse component to its direction, you could say, of propagation. So, and that would be spherically in all directions from one point. Right. And that point is counterspatial. It's what they call wormholes, black holes, etc. And dark energy is in there. That's dielectricity is dark energy. Electricity is white light. Dielectricity is black light. So white light radiates. It's a pulse. It's not a wave. It's a pulsing energy, and it radiates like a little pulse in the bathtub, a still bathtub, and you drip the tap, and you see the drip, and then what you see is radial waves, right? That's radial waves, different to the ones you see on they're not different to the beach waves because they're also radial waves, but you can't tell because the beach is a straight line, so you see these waves coming at you, perpendicular to your sight, right? And whereas the radial wave is like in your bathtub. And so your heart does that. That's why your heart has a beat. It pulses. Pulse is one of these bull words. It's actually P and B being interchangeable. Pulse is backwards for is pull is bull. Okay, so the bull, the hyperbole, it's pulsating. Hence, numbers are being generated from it. Letters come from the Taurus, lettors. Letters are lettors. They come from the Taurus field. They have sound. So it's a numbers and letters universe. And the Torah, the letters in God's word, and word is an anagram for door, which is Taurus field, the word of God, the Lord, L-O, again, door is in the word Lord. Everything is a door, a doorway to this truth, or a Taurus field, right? Doorway, wormhole, portal, gateway. So it's numbers and letters as the Jews and the Pythagoreans taught, gematria, numbers and letters. And so the numbers are pulsating and the letters are waves, transverse waves. Adam and Eve. Adam is atum, all is atum. And Eve is a wave. It's right there. So, and Eve, when you put an E in front of Venus, you have Eve-Venus. And that's
Right.
what the glyph, astrological glyph for Venus is on your female's toilets. And the one for Mars, that's on the boys' toilet. And Mars in Hebrew is called Adam. That's how you call Mars. It's Ma'adim. For all the scholars out there, Ma'adim, Adam. So there's Venus and Mars, Adam and Eve. Red shift, blue shift. Mars is red, and Adam means red. Eve, Venus in the sky is clearly blue. So it's all about red shift, blue shift in the material world, you see. And so to synchronize would be to be in that pulse, in that radiation field. Radiation pulsates. That's where you get all the pulse weapons now. You have lots of pulse weapons. Why is that? Yeah. Well, because that's the true energy. No use farting around with wave energy stuff. We're into pulse wave energies now, pulse generators, and what do we got? We've got, your digital watch and clock, that's pulses. They're all pulsating. So, you know, the original magnetic world is digital, and the secondary electrical world is analog, and it's a waveform. So this is how to synchronize and syncretize, Karl, because numbers are quantities and letters are qualities. And when you understand that it's quantities and qualities, and they're all coming from the Taurus and the Bull, the Torah and the Bible, then you begin to understand and wake up to what you were saying in the first hour, that we need to be in the field, and how to generate magic in your life, etc., and all of that glorious stuff about how to be a witness. That's it. Yeah, to be the witnesser of the witnesser. You want to talk on that for a bit?
Sure. So, the field itself, just being within your own field all the time, I think, and creating that intimate relationship with your own self, knowing all those details, like, what you were talking about is in concept, but then the practice, more than practice, it's like being able to sit with yourself for hours and hours and hours. That's really what I'm talking about. I mean, the word loneliness, I never, those things don't exist. Those, it's like, because if this field really is alive to you, then it's probably, like for me, it's more alive when I'm not on this call than it is I'm on the call all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It's like I'm aware I'm within my higher self and that kind of stuff, but there's also a little distraction about it. So I don't know. And just being able to interact with your own field. And I was talking to the host just before this too about knowing, we were talking about astrology a bit, and I was thinking, knowing my own chart is really all I know about astrology. But I know a lot about astrology because I really know a lot about my chart. And like, I know where every planet is in my chart, and not only where the planet is, I know the angle it's at. So I know the angels in my chart to any given moment, right? The angles in any moment, I always know them. I can just pop it open on my phone. I know the angles. I know where I am angularly to the universe, to the cosmic, all the time, right? And carrying that awareness is super important, because that's what the Rome did, was disconnect everyone from their planet, right? I mean, this isn't cosmic, way out there crazy stuff. No, this is really what's going on in this present moment. Right now, Pluto and Saturn are at 23 degrees, right? And some minutes, sitting in Capricorn right with each other right now. It's not some mystical thing. That's really happening. Everything else around you is an interpretation of what's going on, of how you're seeing it, you're perceiving it. But that's real. Just like the numbers of it, right? The math of it. That's real. That's true. That's part of this present moment. So I think that enables you to interact with the field. Without it, you don't really know there's a field. The field doesn't exist for you. You don't see that little bubble around you, that little Merkaba. It's really there. There's a plasma field around you of inert stuff, inert plasma that you just don't feel it necessarily. My fingers feel it and my toes feel it all the time. This is a field that sticks on you. It's not one you just have to, you don't know about conceptually. No, you're really aware of this field. And it's now back, I'm sitting in my field, but, I see some guys like Damien always does peace, love, centeredness, and I know he's getting himself into a spot, right? It's his place where he knows he avatars from. And for me, it's like I said, it's the fabric of the universe. I feel it. I feel like when I pull my fingers together and then pull them apart, I feel like I really am separating some fabric of this field that I'm in, because there's a dream I'm in right now that I can wake up from outside that fabric. And so that connection and that interaction, but it's galactic too, but it's not like some Star Wars thing. It's just real. We all collaborate. Forget it. I'll speak for me. I collaborated. I'm the architect of this timeline. And I architected this prior to coming here. And I collaborated with all the planets in an intimate way. I had sex with them all. Sex. All of them. We had sex. We intercoursed. We got intimate. We got deep and intimate. And when we did, we made a plan. Because we knew when we came back, we were going to get zapped again. We're going to lose our members. We're going to lose them again. We're going to Humpty Dumpty it once again. But this time we came in with better consciousness. And I hear these other guys speak in their channels, and I believe it. When we leave this time, we'll have the undoing of the curse at least, and we can regain consciousness where we left off. Rather than going back to zero, and this is what's happened every time for the last 4 routes. We go back to our zero, we've set markers, and our markers wake us up for the day when the planets are right for us to introduce. And so it's all tied together, but I don't think the field is active around you in your own interaction or integration until you really have integrated your chart and yourself to the planetary system. So important, all that stuff ties in. I don't know. And you don't have to know astrology at all. You don't have to study anything about astrology. All you have to do is just look at a round thing of your chart and then say, who's a Pisces in my life? Who's been this? Who's been this? And start asking questions. And how did they affect me? And how did this affect me? How did that interaction affect me? And why did it affect me at this degree? And why did this happen? What happened on February 6, 2006? Start finding out who you are and why the hell you came here. And then the field starts to open up to you, and then the field's always supporting you. You're just not aware of it. And once you're aware that it's always supporting and it's interacting with you, I don't know what else to say. I love the field. It's sovereign. I love my field. Love yours too, Santos.
Yeah, likewise, brother. Ich liebe dich. But, the field starts with Saturn. Saturn is the field, and the sun is the... Go on.
Good. I'm glad. I like when you explain.
Yeah, because you mentioned the field and how you've got to know the planets and the realisms of astronomy, which is that Saturn and Pluto are conjunct in the sky, according to what they've determined through just looking with your own eyes or telescopes. That they are physically doing this right now. They are in conjunction. They are lined up in a syzygy. So So that is transmitting now a different frequency than previously into the field. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying about knowing the field and knowing astrology and that they are the same thing, and knowing that Saturn, the seventh sphere, is the beginning of the field of electricity, the electrical world, because beyond that you have, according to the Ptolemaic geocentric true model of the universe, which was around for forever before Copernicus turned up 500 years ago. It was this model where Saturn was the seventh sphere, and above that was the eighth sphere, the Uranus, the heavens, which Uranus is the eighth planet, but it represents the firmament, what's called the firmament. And then beyond that is the ninth sphere, which is called the crystalline sea, the waters above in the Bible. And by the way, the firmament was created on the second day of creation in the Bible. And and beyond that was Neptune's, the water, by the way, Poseidon, the realm of Poseidon. The river Styx. Styx. Stinks. Good slip there. Very appropriate. But beyond that is what they call the 10th sphere, the primum mobile, and that is Pluto, the 10th planet, right? In the order of the Ptolemaic model, right? The astrological model. Now, so for Pluto, the primum mobile, the first motion, to be conjunct Saturn, the beginning of the field, which is our theatre on the earth. Theatre is an anagram for earth. Thank you, Shakespeare. The world is a theatre. So what is going on is that Saturn is the electron, and the Sun is the pyroton, pyro is fire. It's magnetic, and Saturn is electric. That's what's going on. And Saturn is the beginning of the wave field. That's how the wave is created, the wave world, Satan, the world of Satan. He is the god of the world. The world is everything that is matter, that is vibrating, that is electrical, that is transverse to the radiation wave, which is its other part. And the Sun is the Jesus. The Sun is actually Jesus, and Saturn is Satan. That's how it works in theology when you cross over into astrology, both synchronized fields. So what you have now is you've got Jesus, the Sun, who is the magnetic center of the universe. And the universe is a cell. We live in a spherical toroidal cell inside of it. So that's what they call the solar system, you see. And the ionosphere and the Kuiper belt and all these spheres and belts, like the asteroid belt, the Van Allen belt, the stratosphere, the thermosphere, they always call them spheres and belts, because this is correct. Because these fields, you could call them the primum mobile, these spheres, the crystalline sea, the firmament. The ionosphere is probably a firmament. So, or something even closer or what have you. But this is how the system, I would syncretize it if you follow the Ptolemaic model, which all astrologers should. Yeah. And so this field is always interacting with the Earth theatre, and it's always Saturnian and Satanic, in other words. Lucifer is the sun, and so these are the two twins, day and night. The sun comes up in the morning at daytime, and Satan, the black one, the dark one, at night. So both of them are our deceivers, and both of them are our teachers, Lucifer and Satan. Lucifer, bringer of light, the sun, Jesus, as he says, I am the morning star, clearly in the Bible. And then in another scripture, in Isaiah, Satan says, I am the morning star. So take your pick, but this is how to explain it correctly when it's syncretized.
Yeah, but if you look at Job, Job 38, it says, where were you when the two morning stars sang together?
That's right. Satan and Lucifer, the light and the darkness.
Yeah, and they sing together at the foundation of the earth.
Exactly, because you cannot have white light without black light. You cannot have red shift without blue shift. They are always twins, immortally and eternally, and infinitely in time and space. Eternally in time, infinitely in space. So, what you have going here is you've got the war of the two gods, the twins, the day, Cain and Abel, red shift, blue shift, Adam and Eve, red shift, blue shift, Jacob and Esau, one is red, one is blue, Edom, Esau means red, as Adam does. So this war is that Lucifer, the god of light, the morning star, he teaches you during the day, so he puts light on your path so your foot does not trip over on the obstacle or the stumbling block. But he also deceives you. So in one mode, he is Lucifer, your teacher and guide. And in another mode, he's your deceiver, Lucifer the deceiver, because he teaches you that the waveform is stable, the world of matter. It appears to be stable, and we believe in this illusion. That's why it's called the illusionary world, because it's not stable. It's temporal. It's not eternal. So it's not stable in space, and it's not eternal in time. So it's defective. And so Lucifer teaches you that with two eyes, you see, because the two eyes need Lucifer, the light bearer. Thank you, Plato. It said in Timaeus that the sun needs two, your sight needs another thing to be activated, whereas the hearing is direct. And so that's the god of night. You see, he is your teacher because he teaches you to go within now, and he teaches you that the world out there is not that real, but what's in you is the kingdom of God. But he is also your deceiver, because when you go out with your two limbs walking about outside in the darkness, you don't see the obstacle, and you get hurt. So that's why Satan is your deceiver and your teacher, and Lucifer is your deceiver and your teacher. Nothing is either one or the other. Nothing is either good or evil. There's always the counterpart, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're twins. They are co-eternal principles. They will always be together, Adam and Eve. And we are that, you see. When understood, when understood correctly,
we are that. You're right. I mean, that we're both male and female, but like I said, you know, once you become the center of it, then you're aware of both, and you're aware of your dark. You know, the only way to get rid of all your darkness is to go explore it, right? I mean, you're not going to get rid of darkness by suppressing it. That's not going to work either. So you've got to integrate it to see so that the reason that you're doing white light, right, is because it's coming from choice point. And that's important because choice point is creating that, not you're being pushed through a choice point that's longing to do it now because it would never choose the other because it knows what the other feels like. It feels terrible. Like in past lives, I'm going to this point here because the past lives say you bring in some darkness with you, right? Because of curses of your fathers that you don't know nothing about. And I heard you guys talking about this last week, for instance, which stimulated me to think about that. You bring that in with you, and it's there. And let's say it nags at you your whole lifetime, but you just suppress it, push it away, see it as wrong, and it's always that guilt that surrounds around that situation. Or like Elijah said, I'm surrounded by my fears. Right, you know, they're surrounding me. Well, you know, but it, you know, through our imagination, we can dive down into those shitholes and find out and explore how bad it was. For instance, let me give you a really bad one. Is like anyone that would be hurting children, right? Well, let me tell you something. I struggle with that thought about oh, that's terrible. You know, you have your judgments when you're still in you're still light and dark based. You haven't integrated, and you got a judgment. So you would never. I would never do. Are you kidding me? I would never be there. Well, that's a situation to be thought about, or maybe even dove in. That's a shithole to dive into. Why would you be holding any opinion about it in the first place? So that right there is a clue. And in that clue, you need to dive into a past life that would allow something to be done, not through your vessel necessarily, because that's why you're so appalled at the idea that you would allow someone to abuse children. But let's put yourself in a situation where your neck's going to be guillotined if you don't, and you're going to lose your religious status. But you can simply just allow this little bit of abuse go on and overlook it from your position of whatever authority you had in that past life, and you did, and you walked away. Well, let me tell you something. That's something to cry about, right? I'm almost started crying because I'm telling the story. It's like, I might have done something. You know, I might have done that. Oh, then it gets to the point where I probably did. Oh, and then, damn it, I did do that. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that I did. I can clear that. I can transmute that. Oh, yeah, okay, well, now, then it starts to grow. Now I can start transmuting for everyone, right? Because I just explored a whole thing about my potential of evil. I hope I help someone. I don't know why I haven't done that road. Anyway. But I know that kind of thing, that kind of experience I just described will help you clear out your non-integrated darknesses that are still surrounding you as fear. So, not you necessarily, Santos, whoever, whatever. A person surrounded by.
You're speaking universally in general. Yeah. So there's a lot to learn about the true nature of who we are. This is how we can break the limiting from our education, so-called, and the limitations placed upon it. Let's not pass judgment on who was to blame, parents or teachers or whatever institution. There's no need for that. It's all good, like you said at the start of the show there in the last hour. But we can shed those limitations quite easily. Yeah, we can be unlimited and unconditioned, you see. That's what we are seeking to do and achieve, and that's called ascension, how to ascend or transcend, which is similar and but different. To ascend is a process, you see, and you raise the chrism, you raise the cerebrospinal fluids, restore the nervous system, cleanse the blood, balance the pH in the body, and voila, you've got an alchemical masterpiece where you can use this vessel in service to the gods, you see. Yeah. And so how you do this is by shedding the belief systems that we have acquired and the wrong models that we've been taught deliberately to make us limited, you see. And so the true creation is glorious, you know, how the gods made the heavens and how the monad god, the Godhead, made the heavens as well by being the source creator, and then the demiurge, the second god from Saturn onwards, made the physical world, the world of vibration, the world of Adam and Eve, the wave, the atom or the pulse and the wave universe, because that's what it is. Particle wave universe. Thank you, Walter Russell. It is a pulse wave universe, digital and analog. The pulse is magnetic, the wave is electrical. And so when understood correctly and we learn and know that we are this, we are both magnetic and we are both electrical. We have a electrical body, electrochemical, and we have the magnetic heart core center. We really have two centers that are magnetic. It's the cerebrum
and the claustrum and the heart. The heart is the true bowl, hyperbola of our body. That's if you look at the heart, you'll see that it is a hyperbola. That's what heart means, because heart is earth, theatre, heart, all the same word, but hyperbola, earth, because earth is also bowl, and bowl is arbol, the tree of the earth in the centre of the garden. So it is a hyperbola. And you see those muscles, there's the 7 muscles wrapped around the heart and how they contract and expand, and that's a hyperbola, that's a bowl, and it's pulsating. Right? That is magnetism. Your heart radiates this hyperbola in your torus field. And and so that's why a doctor checks your pulse. Pulse is magnetic. And so when you meet someone that you like and has a radiating heart, you don't go away and tell someone that you met someone who had a vibrating heart. Or you could say they had good vibes, but you wouldn't say that about their heart. You would say they were radiating. Their heart was radiating. Yeah, well, that's what pulse does. It radiates universally, in all directions. So when you know that this is your constitution, this is how we are electromagnetically configured as bodies, and these bodies are in the field. They are electrical sparks or vibrations within the field. That is the perturbates. Yeah.
And being able to see the fact, being separate from your body, treating your body as smarter than you, is really just a great start. Just, see the body that within it, it's the intelligence has 3 trillion cells that are regenerating every day. And when you're able, you're communicating, get to know each one of those cells and start with the big ones and change your regeneration process, or you're just going to repeat the same cell day to day. It is possible to wake up every day and not just feel better, but to know you're on the positive side of the health, to where you really are getting younger every day. And it's a cheat, though, because let me tell you why it's a cheat. At least it has been for me. I did so much damage to the physical vessel throughout playing dozens of characters and getting lost in each one of them, looking for myself and getting lost in those characters. And I did tons and tons of damage to my vessel that when you're getting healthier, or when you're totally healthy, then your body's over generating each day. The regeneration process, it's just going to catch up the gap and bring you back to where you were. So let me put it on a timeline so you understand what I meant. Let's say you're 50 and you look 60, right? Or something like that. Okay? Because of the way you lived. Okay? Well, you're going to get looking younger quicker once the chrism's running in your body. You're going to get younger quicker because you're going to repair all this 10 years of damage or something. But let's say you've taken care of yourself a whole lot and you're perfect when it all starts. I don't know that you get as much. I don't think you do the Benjamin Button thing. That's what I'm trying to say. I just think you're probably getting to look more like you would have had you not damaged yourself during your run in the game. Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Sun gaze for sure. You got to get, and if you don't talk about it, do it. Sun gaze. Look at that sun every day, 20 minutes for sure. Get 5. Start with 5, 3, 4, 5, but get it. Get that first horizon if you can, as soon as you can. Every day, and get those bare feet on the ground. Every day.
Yeah, gotcha.
You're a battery. You're a battery, and get that. You've got a Brooklyn current that's going to grab your feet every day, and you grab it. Get the sun on the crown, and that battery will recharge. I'm telling you, your health will You'll make leaps and bounds and lock those retinas on the sun for at least a minute. Let them burn for a minute if it does, because you'll callous, and by the time you get to be a big boy or girl, you'll be able to look at the noon sun for as long as you want.
Yeah. I did a presentation in Portland, Oregon, in October on the sun, and I called it Hail Sol Invictus, and it will be out whenever Elijah Ray is able to upload it. He's very busy moving house, but Hail Sol Invictus, in there I talk about the hyperbola, the bowl, the Baal, the sun, Baal. Hence, when you see depictions of Jesus, you're looking at Baal. All of them. That's Baal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the hyperbola, it's the sun. It's the God of light. You see, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. He's giving you hints. He is the risen Saviour every morning. He walks on water as the sun does as it rises and sets.
Yeah.
He gives you bread. Well, that's because that's what the sun is responsible for, growing the grains. He gives you wine. Well, the sun is responsible for growing the grapes. He gives you oil, the Christos. Well, the sun is responsible for growing the olives. So Satan doesn't do that. He gives you death, the god of the night and the god of winter, where death is. And so, naughty boy, as in the life of Brian. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. But the son is a good boy, usually, see, but he's also a bad boy. He can kill you. You know, when you're trekking across the desert, you haven't had water for 2 weeks, and it's, 120 degrees, or 60 degrees, depending which, 50, whatever system you use, you're going to fry and you're going to die. But he will cook and grow your vegetables and will sustain you. So, and the same with the nighttime, wintry energy in the day and yearly cycle. It's the same thing. You get one thing and you get the other, both positive and negative in that modality as well, because they are always co-eternal. These are the co-eternal principles, and that's how the field works when it perturbates. It has to have rest and motion, you see. And so this is dielectricity and magnetism, the black and white yin and yang, and electricity, red shift, blue shift, is the red and blue yin and yang, denoting the world as per the South Korean flag, with the 4 elements surrounding it. Why are the 4 elements surrounding the red and blue yin and yang? Because they are telling you this is the world of fire, air, water, and earth, plasma, gas, liquid, and solid, respectively. So, yeah, when you know these things and you know the true science, the holy science, whole being Bowley, the Bowley science of the hyperbola, the wisdom of Baal, everything opens up and expansion occurs. Your mind all of a sudden knows everything, not at once, but is able to know everything. Able, again, coming from bull, the hyperbola. To be able to do something is to be hyperbolic and have a thought centered in your hyperbolic heart.
There you go.
Yeah, and this is how we can regenerate now from the material world and transition into the transcendental world.
Nice.
Yeah. Tis, brother, and what a great share we've had. We've hit the top of the hour, the second hour, so
all right.
We should be respectful to the listeners. We could go on for another half hour, and Gary would let us. He's a gentleman, but...
oh, no, that's fine.
No, but respect, and I've got a few things to do as well. So, but hey, Karl, really enjoyed your chat. I'm going to have you on again. And just before you go, Liebe is backwards for Baal. Okay, to love. Yeah, it all comes, as I said, all words come from these 3: Atum, Tor, and Bull. So, any last notes?
Oh, I think we really covered them all. I noticed that, but there's only one there dealing with the 9 dimensions. I see another one. What are your thoughts on reverse polarity, human and Earth? Oh, gee, I don't even think I know what that means. I wouldn't be brave enough to. Can you comment on that, Karl?
Well, I made mention about the pole shift, but for me, that was more of a reference of like my balance in my head. My bowl just turned upside down to where I realized I can picture what you just said. Seeing the hyperbola, for me, just flipped around. Now, there's talk about on the planet and whether or not pole shifts on the planet that I can't speak to either. So I listen. I keep an eye on it through my light city, but it's not to talk about.
Oh, okay, so it's in reference to that. Well, yeah, polar shift. Well, this does happen. The Egyptians told us that every 12,000 years, the Jews say every 6,000 years, which is a creative day, the poles shift. Yeah, that's a plasma event that's coming. And by the way, plasma and polarity are both hyperbola words. So
there you go.
But the other guy there, it's Barbara again. Wow, she's good. Barbara Three Crow. There you go. Santos, can you discuss the 9 spiritual dimensions? Well, again, I don't think I'm sure which area of cosmology or even astrology you're referring to, because I would call this the 9 planets. That's what I would call them. They are spiritual dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay? They are in one octave here on the material plane, and they are also on another octave, which is what you're probably referring to on the high plane, and they are transcendental spiritual dimensions. Yes, there are many of these dimensions. I don't know the system of 9. I know the system of 12. I know the system.
Me too.
Yeah, I know many others.
I know that. I know there's a channel that speaks about the 9 or something out there. I think her name's Magenta Pixie or something, but I don't know the 9 either.
Yeah, this will be a valid system, but they're all interrelated, and they're all aspected to each other. And really, some people hold some traditions more reliably and accurately. Same in astrology. You know, there's things that the siderealists have conserved over the millennia, which we in the West in tropical astrology haven't. So, you know, we can interchange. Christianity as well, if you're speaking theologically, have retained certain truths and concepts that Judaism doesn't, and then Hinduism, etc. So when you understand syncretism, that it's all inclusive, then you get the bigger picture, and that all these are just doing different aspects and teaching the same thing.
Yeah. And I mentioned in this too about a 12D city and all that kind of. That's for my talking point too. You know, like I don't want it to. There's no dogma that I said at all. Please.
Yeah, for sure. Neither with me. But then again, dog is backwards for God, Godma. So if you're speaking theology, which I love and is probably my favourite of all fields of science, sometimes, you know, equaled with astrology and that, but theology, then dog, Godma is, you know, they are the precepts of, or the tenets of, the maxims, the ways, the modalities of the universe, and it's all in order, you know. And again, order is D-O-R, door, Torah, you see, and it's twice. The ending is also, you know, so twice in the word order you have torus field word right there. So. There's many ways to discuss the same thing. Another beautiful thing Barbara said there, you can sense the field if you quiet the mind and see through the illusion. Mother's milk is the nectar of the gods. It is. Yeah, it is. So, that's beautiful. Well, I'll leave you with a thought, guys, that gods are mortal men and
and should I say, gods are immortal men. I think I did say that. And men are mortal gods. Therefore, God made man in his image, and in turn, man made God in his image. So when you understand the science of God, theology, then you transcend to God. Then you become one, not two, divided. Nothing wrong with 2 and 3 and all the other numbers, but 1 is the unity which has all the numbers, and it is the place where you are synchronized and syncretized. All righty. Thanks, Karl. Any last things to say?
No, sir. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And I appreciate the honor you have for all the detail.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Likewise, you too. All righty. Thanks. People for people listeners, please be sure to share these podcasts, these shows, and to support the station. Please support the station, as they've been around for so long. Back in the days when I was with them in 2011-12 on Scottish Sovereigns with Gary, and they don't ask for money. You don't have to pay. It's all free. This is a beautiful thing, and so please support it.
Thank you, Gary. Actually, I should call it neutron, proton, electron. Thank you, Mr. Avatar.
There you go. Okay, long live the truth, and
hello, folks. This is Jordan Maxwell. It's a pleasure, again, to be able to talk with you, and I've been trying to wake people up to the facts of life that's going on the earth today. And this is what I'm known for. This is what I love doing, is trying to teach people and educate them. I have a piece of knowledge that you need to know about. There is a radio operation going on called People for People Radio. And I am delighted that I have been able to be on the People for People Radio, and I want to invite all of you to go to People for People Radio. Go on the web and find it and follow all the programs on People to People Radio. Fascinating stuff, I tell you. Thank you for hearing me. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Yolene Slee from Nourishing Peace Show on People for People Radio. I've been out on winter break, and I'm really excited to announce that I'll be back for my show on Sunday, January 26th. That's at noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and 8 p.m. UK time. My passion in this show is traditional foods, Chinese medicine, and simple, healthy living skills. Food is how we physically and spiritually nourish ourselves. And so we're going to be back just in time for the Chinese New Year's, and we're going to be talking about the Year of the Rat and some really interesting things about becoming healthy and whole in this upcoming new year.